Good morning, dreamers. How are you today? I'm so thankful that you're here and we've woken up and there's a very light layer of snow on the ground. It'll be gone by the end of the day, I think. Unless more is to come. I haven't actually heard the weather report. But it's the seasons changing is such a beautiful thing. I love that things change over time. The tree is still the same, but the covering looks different, and the grass is still there, poking through the lightly fallen snow. Although it was very wet snow, so it really wasn't a lightly falling snow, it was snowman snow. But I didn't want to go out and encourage my teenagers to trample on the grass while during the first one, or else springtime will be affected. Whatever. But I really just didn't want to do their wet laundry. That's really the issue. But it got me thinking about what's to come between now and the end of the year. And one of the things that popped into my brain in a funny way was parking lots, because I want to help Hannah learn how to drive. And where we went last week was the back of the mall, a parking lot. And I had been scrolling through social yesterday, and I'd heard that the Santa Claus parade is going to be a regular parade, and so everybody's talking about where at the mall they're going to park. And so this was in my head already, and so I was like, we need an empty lot, right? Because parking in the mall is going to be much busier. You see, parking lots at malls at Christmas time, they can get a little rough. They can get hairy. They can bring out the very worst in good people. And they certainly show the humanity of God's creation. And then I open up my Bob Goff book, and he talks about we ought to be fighting to get the worst parking spots at our churches. He talks about a generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. That's Proverbs 11:25, and it's such a great proverb. If I take the time to minister to other people, I will have myself ministered to. My mom often says, get your eyes off yourself, get your eyes off yourself. Most of the time they're not actually on myself. I have a situation that I need help with, but it's a good concept, is take care of other people. Look at Jesus and take care of his people. Look at Jesus, take care of his creation, right? And when I do that, I do need to take care of his creation here as well, but at the same time, there is the concept of refreshing other people will build into your own refreshment. In the kids' world, it's called how full is your bucket, right? And everybody has this bucket that goes over them. And is it full? And we have to fill other people's buckets, because the more we fill other people's buckets, the more full of love and compassion and empathy and all the good things our buckets will be. And but when our buckets are empty, we are mean and we're nasty and we're awful, right? And so it's, you have the concept of a gas tank with the car, but all of these images in the world demonstrate the concept of caring for something, filling something else up. And it reminded me of a church in New York City, Pete Scazzero, who wrote Emotionally Healthy Spirituality. It literally saved my life. This study saved my life. When I was falling apart at my very, very worst, and my brother says, hey, let's get you going that way. Instead of looking at the past all the time, instead of having everybody harp over what you're doing in the present, we got to look at what's coming next. And he pastored me in the darkest of times, and he did so with Pete Scazzero's study. And he worked at a church. Pete Scazzero worked at a church in New York, a big, wonderful church, and he had to start to take time away and take a step back. And so he passed the torch, if you will, to Rich Villodas. I don't know if you follow either of these gentlemen on Twitter. If not, go do a follow. Rich Villodas. And when Pete was passing the torch to Rich, Pete said, if you take this job, you can no longer park in the church parking lot. And Rich is like, no, I get that. He's like, I don't know if you do. Massive church, downtown New York City. Like, where are you parking? There is no parking, right? The only little tiny parking spot is for everybody except the pastor, right? And it was expected that Rich would no longer claim a parking spot in that parking lot. And it sounds like such a small thing. But our church is very tiny. It's not like Pete and Rich's in New York City. But our church is so small we don't have a parking spot or parking lot. And so when it is bad weather, our pastor asks us to park further away so that we can walk in and leave the closer spots, not for the worship team who gets there first, but for the people who have a harder time walking towards that door, whether they be in a wheelchair, whether they simply be older, and if they slipped and fell on the ice, things would be a lot harder for them than it would be for a 20-year-old, and he asks us very gently to please park further away so those that need a closer parking spot can have one. And I thought, yeah, as I'm reading Bob Goff's stuff, and this is how my mind wanders from a Facebook post about the Santa Claus parade all the way through to my morning devotions. Bob says, in a world where everyone competes for the best spot, sign up to be the last and watch what happens next. And here's the best part. If we do it right, no one will ever know. This isn't about a pat on the back. It isn't. Most of us will never face a choice to physically give our lives for another person. But we can die to ourselves by making small sacrifices day in and day out to put other people first. Every time I had a new hire when I managed a Tim Hortons, I would take them aside and I would say, this is a team, and I need you dedicated to taking care of everyone else. If you take care of everyone else without even realizing it, they will take care of you as well. It was something that has to be taught consciously in this world, but once you get into the habit of it, it's good stuff, man. It's good stuff. So I don't know how you're going to quietly take care of your world today. But that's my challenge. Take the worst parking spot, even in the snow. Please understand, parking lot is a metaphor for any and all. When you're rushing towards the door or towards the line up at the drive-thru and there's two cars converging, let the other one go first. Super small sacrifice. Yeah, they might take the last apple fritter and you might miss it. So, get a Boston cream. Take some time and enjoy some sweet dreams today, my friends. Bye.